How do you achieve more in 12 weeks than you did in 12 months? Today we're going to talk exactly how to do that. We're going to talk about the myths of the industry, like monk mode, like goals, like 5 a.m. club, what is the procrastination graph and how it works. And then we're going to talk about 3 things that actually work and that will actually allow you to achieve more in 12 weeks than you did in 12 months. So let's get straight into it. Monk mode is really catchy word that got a lot of attention and a lot of monetary compensations for people who were spreading it around. But actually, what monk mode is, literally said in plain English, is get bored. Like, you just have to get bored. That is monk mode. You have to remove the phone for a few days or one day. You have to get away from screens. You have to get away from sweets and sodas. That's how you refresh your dopamine receptors. Your dopamine receptors from all of us online are like the size of a dust grain right now, and usually it's like the size of a walnut. So in order to get the rewards from the behaviors that are actually propelling you forward, you need to have a healthy size of dopamine receptors. That's what you do with monk mode or just getting bored. So you get away from porn, you get away from TikTok, you get away from IG, you get away from YouTube shorts, you lay your phone down, you watch the paint dry on your walls. And that's monk mode. Next up is setting goals. Setting goals is a beautiful thing and I'm a huge proponent of it, but depending on what is your stage right now, where you are at your level of development, if you're making 150,000 a year and you want to scale up to 350,000 or half a mil, goals are absolutely necessary. But when you set goals, you have 2 different types of goals that you need to pay attention to. You have input goals and output goals. Output goals are the big dream goals that we all want to talk about, the grandiose thing that we're going to imagine so vividly that it will show up in our lives, the Lambos and the mansions and 2 million in the bank and all that kind of good stuff. Those goals are usually what people set. And if you attach a time frame to that goal, so I'm going to have $150,000 in the bank by March 25th or whatever, and you give yourself 90 goals or 60 goals, you give yourself a massive way to fail. Because if you don't achieve that goal in 60 days or 90 days, it means you're a failure and you didn't really made it happen. So when it comes to the outcome goals, you don't put a time frame to those. Where do you put the time frame is input goals. Input goals are the daily activities that when you repeat consistently will inevitably lead you to your big outcome. So your goal is $150,000 in the bank. Your skill is copywriting. You know you're charging $3,000 a month for writing copy. If you do the math, you need 5 clients for $3,000 a month. That's 15 grand a month. You do that for 10 months, you have $150,000. What is your input goal? Is I'm going to be sending 50 DMs on Facebook, 50 DMs on X, and 30 DMs on IG to people who are my potential clients. And I have a deadline and I have a time frame and I have all that kind of good jazz that put me in the urgency state of mind where I need to perform. When you attach time to those goals, that works perfectly fine. When you attach time to the outcome goals, that turns everything into a shit show. So forget about setting goals the old way. Set the input goals first and then let those lead you to your big outcome goals. Next up, the good old 5 a.m. club. I'm waking around 5 for the last 7 years. And it's good. But it has nothing to do with achieving your goals. Because at first year and a half, I was waking at 5 and watching freaking Simpsons from 5 to 6. And then doing nothing from 6 to 7. So the question is not if you're going to wake up at 5 or you're going to wake up at 7 or you're going to wake up at 8. If you want an alarm to have anything to do with what you're going to accomplish in your life, have a bedtime alarm, not a wake up alarm. That's a huge shift and it's a massive benefit. That's gonna give you massive energy for the day to come, and then you can work on your input goals. Forget about boasting on social. I'm waking up at 4:30, I'm waking up at 4:45. What do? That's the question. You can do the same thing from 7 to 9. Yes, people are awake. Yes, people are contacting you. But come on, man. You're not Elon Musk. Your phone is not ringing like the entire day. You have time. Let's talk about the big needle movers, especially for people who are still early in the journey. So not people who are like doing 250 a year and then they want to scale up to a half a mil or a mil. That's a different story. But for people who are just starting out, you don't have to set priorities. You don't have to have those grandiose outcome goals. You don't have to have 5 a.m. You need energy. a lot of it. So because of that, you need a decent food, and then you need a good night of sleep. Because of that, you need to work on removal. Because right now, I can remember myself starting, life is a shit show. You have no fucking clue what do you really want. It is impossible for you to know because those dopamine receptors are the size of grain dust. When you start even thinking about the goals and the activities and the things that you want to do, it's impossible to feel good because your dopamine receptors simply cannot register the stimulus that you're sending. It's too low. The stimulus of social media, of porn, of sugar, of addictions, of video games is like 100. Then the stimulus from reading a book is like 15. So that's the key to success. You start from removal, then you do a beautiful exercise that is going to pinpoint the self-sabotaging behaviors you perform throughout the week and throughout the month. Sit down with a piece of paper, you write at the top as a headline, what do I do to fuck this up as bad as I possibly can? So if your goal is to get a six-pack, what do I do to never have a six-pack in my life? If your goal is to make $10,000 a month, what do I do to never hit 10K a month? Then if your goal is to find a girlfriend, what do I do to never find a girlfriend? And then you start writing. I need to watch at least 3 to 4 hours of social media content, preferably shorts, to fry my brain as much as possible. I need to watch at least 30 minutes of porn every day. I need to play at least 6 to 7 hours of video games. I need to suffocate myself with sugar and sodas as much as possible so I can feel like a lethargic piece of crap and I don't have a willpower to move out of my bed. Then I need to sleep at a different hour, and then I need to wake up at a different hour. Every single day, I need to obey that as a holy grail. And then I need to get hammered at least 2 times per week in order to feel awful for the next 5 days of the week because I drank so much alcohol that I cannot get my shit together. And when you do that, when you start from that removal part, trust me, I'm speaking from experience. All of the things that you want will just start showing up in your life. It will be clear as clear can get. What do you want after you go through the removal phase? Which brings us to the next thing, which is brute force. You don't need productivity tools. You don't need calendars. You don't need to set the time for this, that, and the other. You don't need to write things down. You don't need to, as one great executive coach says, first things first, second things not at all. That's for someone else. For you, it's brute force. You need energy and you need force. You need, if you want to be a copywriter, you need to write 4, 5, 6 hours per day. Then you need to start reaching out to people for another 3, 4 hours per day. That's 10 hours of work. Brute force. No priorities, no fancy scheduling things, no fancy apps, no drawing on the piece of paper and then just doing whatever you guys are doing right now. Brute force. And then the last thing that's probably the biggest needle mover is you need to tie the behavior to at least 2 or 3 out of 6 core human needs. You don't need to tie a goal to that. You need to tie the behavior. So the behavior that's going to take you to your goal, you need to tie that behavior back to 6 core human needs, which are significance, growth, love and connection, contribution, certainty, and variety. If you can derive 3 out of 6 of those basic human needs from the behavior that's going to take you to your goal, I can guarantee you it's just a matter of when you're going to hit your big outcome goal. That's the biggest shift. Tie the behavior that's going to take you to your goal to 3 out of 6 human needs. That's it. If you can feel like you're growing, you're probably going to be feeling like you're growing when you're mastering a skill. That's amazing. If that gives you a sense of variety, that you're doing something different, something you've never done before, it's pumping adrenaline in your veins, that's awesome. That variety is going to turn into certainty at some point. Then if you can feel the connection because you're joining other groups where similar like-minded people, then you are maybe getting sense of contribution because you're helping someone in those groups. And then you maybe feel a significance because your parents are like, good for you, you're doing something great. So you need to find a way to tie the behavior that's going to take you to your big outcome goals to 2 or 3 out of 6 human needs. When you do that, it becomes automatic. You don't even think about it. So these are out. Monk mode, goals the way they say, 5 a.m. This is not gonna take you anywhere. It's brute force. You need to tie the behavior to 6 core human needs and start from removing the bad shit. Procrastination is, people say it's the biggest killer of dreams, which from one point of view is true, but psychologically, take procrastination on one side and you have your big dream on the other side. We usually make up that dream to be perfect and to be flawless, and that big outcome to be so beautiful and so unique, and everything is like in a fairy tale. Procrastination is the thing that keeps that flawless dream from dying. As soon as you start taking action, listen to this, as soon as you start taking action, this dream falls apart, because you can see how flawed that dream actually is, how flawed the journey to that dream actually is, how it's filled with disappointments and failures, which are great human emotions that we are designed to experience in life, because that's how we appreciate more what we get at the end. The execution immediately kills the flawlessness of the dreams. As long as you procrastinate, the dream is saved. As soon as you start executing, as soon as you reach out to people via DMs and then offer your service, and then they are going to respond to you back, everything falls apart as soon as you send press for that first one DM, because you start getting blocked on social media because of the spam. People are saying F you, screw you, not even opening your messaging. You're ending up in spam with emails, and that's what kills the flawlessness of the dream. That's why procrastination is so unique and why we cherish it so hard. But the way to end procrastination whenever you're ready is literally 5 seconds. 5 seconds of the activity. Procrastination graph goes like this. As soon as the activity starts, procrastination drops to 0. If your goal is to shoot a video, just sit in front of camera. Talk about irrelevant stuff, never post it. After 15 seconds, you're gonna feel like, why was I procrastinating on this thing so much? If you need to write something, just 5 seconds of writing. Just 5 seconds, just a headline. You won't believe. Don't overcomplicate stuff with the perfectionism, because perfectionism and procrastination, they are like the twin brothers. Don't overcomplicate it. Just start the activity. If you want to work out, just start the activity. Put on the shoes, go outside. Put on the shoes, go outside. Drive to the gym. Literally like that. The procrastination will have no power over you if you just put in practice this 5-second rule. The graph will look at like this every single time. It drops like crazy, like free falls to 0 whenever you just 5 seconds. Forget about the monk pose. Forget about grandiose goals with time attached to it. Forget about the 5 a.m. club. It's not that important. Instead of a wake-up alarm, have a bedtime alarm, and then work from removal. Ask yourself, what do I need to do in order to fuck this thing as bad as I possibly can? Then actually write it down. Then have great amount of energy by having a good food and a good sleep. That's like, those two are key. Those two are mandatory. Then brute force everything. Forget about priorities, and then apply the 5-second rule. And then on top of all that, just tie the behavior that's going to take you to your big outcome goal. 2 or 3 out of 6 core human needs, which are again, significance, growth, love and connection, contribution, variety, and certainty. If you do that, I'm going to be talking to you really soon. Bye-bye.